Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to another episode of Open for Discussion. I'm your boy, Seymour Reese Ball, and y'all know what to do when y'all see the thing down here. Go ahead and hit the subscribe and join our community because we got some dope stuff coming up and some dope people that's going to be sharing a lot of amazing things in the near future. So hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on anything. And today, I am honored to have this young man on who is a father. He's a husband. He's an entrepreneur. He's a community leader. He's changing lives and impacting lives across this nation. And he's been doing it for a very long time. And he took the time out of his busy day to sit and holler at me for a few seconds. So after we kick this intro, we're going to welcome our guests. With that being said, kick that intro. Well. I am introducing to some and presenting to others my man Reece McNeil in the building.
I appreciate
What's going
you, good
on,
brother.
bro?
Thank you. Listen, I'm excited about this opportunity, man. Thank you so much. Let's get right to it.
Oh, hey man, I appreciate you pulling up on my podcast. I normally have a story as to how most of my guests come on because most of the people that's been on here, I kind of stalk them through TikTok and Instagram, and they end up saying, "Yeah, they'll pull up," and then we have amazing conversation. And this was no different. I seen we are mutual. We have mutual friends on TikTok, and they shared their live. And I jumped in a couple of times, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I like what he's talking about. It's nothing but positive affirmations. You can move forward. It's a mindset. You're the controller of your decisions and your destiny." He was spitting stuff that lines up with my spirit. So I was just like, "Yo, won't you pull up on my podcast?" And he was like, "Yo, I'm gonna pull up." and,
That's a
and,
layup. Let's
and
do it.
here we are, getting ready to just spend a few minutes just talking about what's going on in his life. So Reece, man, where are you currently living at?
Currently, I'm in Central Florida. I'm a few minutes from Disney World.
A few minutes from Disney World. Now,
Yeah.
is living that close to Disney World kind of like living in Vegas? Like you don't really go to the strip because like you see it all the time. It's one of those, yeah, it's just Disney World.
I choose to not have that type of energy. So the actual amusement parks, you go there when you go there, but all the things, everything else, that comes with being right here next to Disney, we take full advantage of. That was a big part of us choosing to move here.
Oh man, that's what I can imagine. Just the family stuff that goes on around there for free, and a lot of community stuff. I bet that's pretty dope. And in how you engage family and have family time. Date nights are probably really dope. Like, hey babe, let's go on over here to the gondola.
Literally unlimited things to do for family, the individual, the couple, you name it. You can never run out of things to do. And I'm telling you, we love it.
That's what's up. But so, where'd you move from that landed you into Philly? I mean, landed you into Orlando.
Absolutely. So before we moved here, we lived right outside of Atlanta in Lawrenceville. We lived there for 2 years. It never felt like home.
Mm-hmm.
And so the entire time we were there, but our head was on a swivel. We were looking, and this area was always on the list. And here we are.
That's uh, so. When you was packing up and moving, did you feel like a sense of peace and joy in that movement?
Oh, absolutely. My wife is she's excellent about planning and taking care of things. So
Mhm.
we were packing almost 90 days out. So that takes the stress out of it, because it's not it's a step, a step, a step, a step every day. And so every step was exciting. We were a step
Uh,
closer to getting down here with the palm trees.
a 90 days out plant out, yo, that's what's up.
She's a
That's,
beast. Oh yeah.
is your wife the type of wife that unpacks when y'all go off on vacation and she unpacks the night that y'all get in?
So the funny thing about that is that's me. I'm the
Me too.
maniac who, soon as we come in, I'm emptying the bag, putting everything away. I'm that person. I'm the person. As soon as the stuff comes out the dryer, it's folded, put away, hung. I'm that person. So I'm that person. But when it comes to big stuff, she's the one.
Yeah, I'm like that too. I don't care how many days I've gone, how big that suitcase is. My mind will not allow me to let that thing just stay there full of clothes, just packed. It just won't let me
Yeah,
do that. So
there's a
so
rule.
so in your family structure, where do
Mhm.
you fall? You have siblings. Where do you fall at in the family structure of your family?
Great question. So I'm my mom's only child and my dad's oldest. My dad, after my brother is maybe 11 years younger. He
Mhm.
ended up having a son and then another son and then two stepdaughters who are my sisters. So my mom's only child, but my dad had a couple children later on.
Okay. Okay. Now, what was the dynamics growing up? Were you living with your mom as a single parent? Was that the dynamic growing?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Yep. I grew up just my mom and I. And I don't know how quick we want to dive in, but yes, that was the dynamic. It was just she and I for a very long time.
Okay. And did you growing up? Were you did you have a relationship? Let's say we'll jump in probably around eighth grade, ninth grade, eighth grade. Did you have seventh, eighth grade? Did you have a relationship with your dad?
No, not at all. It was once in a blue we would interact once in a blue. So no, we didn't have a relationship.
Okay. Okay. And do you think that um not having not having him around affected you in any kind of way? Do you think there's some things that you could have learned through having him around that you didn't learn?
That's a really great question, and the automatic answer is, oh, absolutely, right? But
Hmm.
when I think about where my dad was during that time, he was struggling with a heroin addiction, and I mean, it really had him in the chokehold,
Hmm.
and and so his presence in that state, I don't know. Could I learn some things from him? Of course. But would it had been that added value that we would love to just say because it sounds right? I can't
Right.
really say. So to answer the question, I'm going to say yes, but we need an asterisk next to that because
Because it's situational. It's bad habits could be transferred. Things I mean, there's a lot that could take place.
yeah,
And I'm pretty sure your mom did everything that she possibly could to kind of keep you shielded from the chaos and stuff that he was probably bringing into the situation.
interestingly enough, he was in West. I'm from Philly, born and raised. So he was in West Philly, struggling with his heroin addiction, and I was with my mom, but we were in North Philly, and she was struggling with a crack addiction, and so I was running the streets on her hip while she was fighting that fight. So
Wow.
yeah, so it
Wow.
was it was one of those. It was pretty bad.
So you did you have to fend for yourself in your journey, like in middle school? Where did the streets claim you? Did you take to like the local gangs or the local hood dudes to kind of build this family bond?
So That's a really, really good question. So, not necessarily. I was a really good athlete, and my
Okay.
mom, even in the midst of her struggles, right, and her challenges, she did. We had a roof
Hmm.
up until 13. That's when it really, really went haywire. But up until that point, I had somewhere to live. Oftentimes, we had candles because we didn't have power, and then there were angels around. There were a couple of neighbors who would make sure I had a plate occasionally. There were some things that, there were some people who planted seeds. I was a really good athlete, and I had somewhere to sleep, so I didn't get caught up in a whole lot of nonsense at that
Hmm.
young age.
Hmm.
But yeah, that good stuff came later.
So that's we kind of have a similar thing. Like I'm the only, well, I'm the youngest of three, but I
Mhm.
was the only boy living with my dad. So I was raised by a single dad. Um, and he didn't have the addiction part of, he didn't have the drug, he had an alcohol thing going on. But he was an amazing father, you know what I mean? So, but still everything that comes along with all that,
Right, of
and
course.
you still got to fight through all that stuff. So when you look back at the at that age, do you see the do you see like the grace and mercy that God had on your life?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Things could have gone so many crazy ways.
Mm,
Now, I had my share of go through, but when you say that, and I'm actually getting a little choked up just thinking about what could have taken place.
mm.
So, absolutely. Oh, yes, God's hand was on me the whole time. Absolutely.
Man,
Absolutely.
don't that don't like when you think back at some of the situations and some of the things that you were in, and some of your homeboys that didn't make it, that you were in close quarters with, and you look back and be like, yo, I was next to my man that was next to my man that caught the,
Mhm.
caught that straight, or that, man,
Yeah,
I think about that stuff
absolutely.
all the time. Like, it is nothing but God's grace.
Absolutely.
Nothing but God's grace. So at 13, you were what, eighth grade, ninth grade,
Yeah, eighth grade, and
eighth grade?
yeah, things got really, really dark, and my mom, we got put out, and
Hmm.
I went to stay with my grandmother, her mother, and she was gone. She was in the streets.
So in that, did that create a, like, did you internalize that and create like an abandonment issue? Did you say it was me, it's me, it's me, it's me at that young age, not really knowing everything that came past? Because as kids, and if you look at your children see you where you are,
Right,
and all that other stuff, so they don't know what forged you to be the person that you are, um, until you start to open up and tell them.
right.
So in that process, that when she left, did you internalize that like it was your fault, and like, I caused this to happen?
I didn't,
Okay.
because I was so close to her struggles. It wasn't something she went out and did and came home, right? It was
Mhm.
in the house. My house was the crack house.
Mm.
And so if you can picture a two-bedroom house, and there's that adjoining door, kind of like a hotel room with
Yeah.
the two bedrooms. And so we had that door. And so I'm in the room and she's in the room, and there's company and people in and out up all night, and the conversations and all the things. And so I was present for, got too much for a child to be expected to get up and, oh, go to school, right? Get
Right.
after hearing this all night. And so, because I was right there in the mix, kind of seeing what was going on, I never took it. I never blamed myself. I definitely developed issues with abandonment, because
Mhm.
where are you? Where are you? Where are you? And that cycle continued through life.
Mhm.
But I never blamed myself, because I was so close to it. I could see what was going on, right? Like I see the fire. So I
Hmm.
know, you know, so I was in it. I was in the fire. So I never, so I skipped that part.
Yeah, that's stuff. So happened to go to school and kind of act like nothing was going on. Did you lash out at school, even though you were an athlete? Did you still have those moments where you just lashed out because you were angry? Like I used to work with a lot of students that's their norm,
Hmm.
and they can't yell at the person that's causing the pain, so they yell at the other people that's around them. Like, I think the saying is, don't put somebody else's blood on me. Like, that's not, like, I didn't do the hurt. So I'll see these
Right.
young men or women, they'll be at school and they'll just be ready to throw hands at the drop of a dime. You tear their paper up, or you bump them a little bit, or
Right.
anything. They was a quick trigger for them because they couldn't fight the parent.
Right.
Were you explosive like that?
Actually, no, because even with everything that was going on, there was no question that my mother loved me.
Hmm.
There was no question. Life was doing a number on her, and I don't know. Obviously, it was God where I had the maturity to understand that. I never took it personal,
Hmm.
and there was never a question that my mother loved me, even though I became her punching bag. I
Hmm.
became anytime life, anytime she couldn't do what she needed to do, anytime she couldn't scratch the itch that she needed to scratch, uh, I would, I would be her punching bag. Even in all of that, I knew my mom loved me. I knew that she loved me. I knew that she cared for me because outside of that, she cared for me.
Hmm.
She fought. My mother rumbled in the street, literally, about me. And but at the same time, abuse, all those other things. So I never had that type of energy. And I internalized a lot. And what happened was I have a really vivid imagination. And I
Hmm.
would essentially create a little world for myself. So I became my own safe space. I didn't have the language for it then. Obviously now I understand that, and
Hmm.
I intentionally do that,
Hmm.
but I became my own safe space. And so I created a world because I wasn't going to share that with anyone, and then I would just show up and so I never had the anger issues. I was really, I was an athlete, and I fared pretty well outside of the house. Home was
Okay.
just a mess. I fared pretty
Okay.
well outside. Home was just terrifying.
And when you transitioned over to your grandmother, was that like a sense of solace for you, a sense of peace? Was it was I mean, most grandmas, we're around the same age, so I know they old school. So it was rules and restrictions, and you know you can't do this,
Mhm.
can't do that kind of thing. Did you find was that a place for you that was peaceful in your up and coming formative years?
Yeah, it was a little different. My grandmother, she was sick. I've never seen her not bedridden.
Mm.
And so she was sick. My aunt was there, and then it's my uncles would shuffle in and out. My grandma's house was when my uncles were going through it with their wives, they
Hmm.
would shuffle in and out. So every cup, this uncle's there for a week, then this uncle, he's gone, and then the next uncle's there. So they shuffled in and out. And my one aunt lived there. So she was sick, she was bedridden, and she did her best, I had a place to stay, right? I wasn't hungry.
Hmm.
Um, I never had a room. I slept on the floor because that couch had the plastic on it. So I slept on the floor in front of the couch right
Right.
there. And what's so funny, we had you understand this language. We had the encyclopedias
Yeah.
right there under the coffee table. So I
Yeah.
slept right there. So I would grab a random encyclopedia and just kind of read and zone. And that helped me with my zoning out. And so, and I haven't thought about this. Wow, this is so good, bro. I have anyway. So yeah, but to your point, I didn't go into a strict situation. I went into what I later learned was uh there was a deep level of sympathy, because it's like, no, we got to get Reece because because Joyce is going through and Nate's nowhere to be found, and so we have to. And I learned later, like, oh, I was the oh,
Mm,
and I didn't know, right? But later I'm like, oh, that's why. Okay, and of course I appreciate it, but
right.
I didn't realize how deep it was, how severe it was. I didn't realize I needed to be saved, but they pulled me out of something. Well, life happened, and then that's where I retreated to. But yeah, so I was the sympathy. I was the, oh, no, Reece is here. So yeah, that was interesting. This is good. I like this.
So then you transition into, now you transition into high school as an athlete. What was your sports? Basketball,
It was
football, baseball?
basketball.
Okay.
Basketball. I was football for a while, but then once I picked up a basketball, that was it. I never looked back, and I played ball. But one of the downfalls from being there, from being the sympathy baby, we'll call it,
Mm-hmm.
I never had rules at my grandma's house. I never had a
Mm-mm.
curfew. And if I didn't get up and go to school, I just didn't get up and go to school. There were never any rules.
So
So
you had no, so the structure was just foreign to you.
yeah, there was none. And so,
Wow.
like at night when my peers had to go in, I would just go hang out with the old heads, and I'm the only one outside because I didn't have a curfew. And then if I didn't want to go to school, I didn't go.
Man.
Yeah,
I,
so it was
that's
crazy. And
so how did you, so that's a, because that's tough to go from having no structure to playing sports where you had to be structured and disciplined. Was that a kind of a conflict, and was submitting to like a male authority an issue, or was it something that you just gravitated to because you didn't have it?
very interesting. So that was never an issue. Like, because I mean, I love to hoop,
Mm-hmm.
and I was always coachable.
Mm.
I've never had issues with that. And thinking about it, I would have welcomed more, right? More structure, a coach who was more hands-on and things of that nature. But I went to school in the fall so that I could pass, so that I could be eligible come winter when it was basketball time. And then come the spring grades, I had usually flunked off. I did that 3 straight years of school. I would go in the fall, I pass. Yes, I can play hoop. Never hardly going to class. Grades come out, I fail. I mean, I'm off the team or whatever. I did that 3 straight years.
Man. So now when you left the thing that you loved, what was you telling yourself in those moments? What was what was going through your head to say, I do enough work to make it. I know I'm better than everybody, or I'm hooping and I can be on this team. I know I can get buckets. But then all of a sudden, I really don't care.
Yeah. The again, there was no structure even at the school. the
Wow.
the coach didn't enforce that we did anything. I believe the coach just wanted that stipend to coach, so
Hmm.
he wasn't a coach in the sense that we think about it.
Hmm.
There was no teacher who grabbed me by the collar and said, let's do this. There was no guidance counselor. No one was invested. Now when I was out there getting buckets and everyone was clapping and things were great, no one was invested. And then when the letters started coming in, I had at least 60 schools sending mail every day. I would get trash bags
Wow.
full of mail at the school.
Uh-huh.
No, even then, no one. It didn't occur to anyone to
To
grab me
jump
by the
on it,
collar.
hitch their caboose to your train, and
Not
push you.
not one person.
You know, this is because people don't really recognize it. It's sad because everybody around you was dealing with life.
Exactly.
Life
Exactly.
was lifing with everyone, and didn't see nobody saw like, yo, all he need is a couple of guardrails and a stoplight, and he could go the distance.
Yeah. At minimum, free education. At minimum. But
Yeah, yeah.
but you know, but that
So
was
it's all part of the story. You know what I'm
for
saying? Like
sure.
it makes you it what it does is it makes you more relatable to the kids who are doing it right now because nothing's changed.
Absolutely.
It's still going on in our communities, in our schools, in our neighborhood. I talk to guys all the time. I mentor a few guys right now that's like that. But they have somebody that can push, and when you see it, you able to recognize and be like, I need to poke this. I need to poke this a little bit. Let me give a little structure. Let this kid come over and hang out at my house with my sons because I
Right.
know, so you have the tools now, but if you wasn't equipped, you would buy it. It'll just be another kid that's just out here in the street floundering.
Exactly. Exactly.
Now, in high school, you hooping. Um, were you a ladies' man out there in them streets?
Of course. That
Of
was
course,
the easy part. That was easy.
layups, right?
Yeah, that was layups. That was easy.
So what was your take on relationships in high school? Like you going through high school, um, were did you feel some kind of way towards women?
I I mean, I I was just kind of going with the flow. You know, I was just in the mix. I wasn't very intentional about much.
Mhm.
Um, and so much so that because it was so easy, I never had to put effort in to my female interactions. They were always there
Understandable.
at school, on the train, going to and from school, at the away games, around the way. That would that you know
Because you was a
that's
hooper.
never been a thing.
You light skinned. Light skinned people was
Listen,
in style back in what
hey,
90,
listen.
what was that,
We talking about
91,
the crack
92?
era. Yeah, we talking about the crack era. Yeah, exactly. So I that was never a thing for me. So I never had to really put thought into that.
At what point at what point in your high school career did something click? Because you said for 3 years
Mhm.
you did what was right until you didn't, and
Yep.
then I'm taking your senior year. You kind of figured like I might as well ride this train all the way out.
Yeah. I wish that was the story, but what happened was I was in Philly, and that summer between we'll call it junior and senior, um, I got in some trouble, and my dad had started getting his life together, and he was in Central PA, a little town called Williamsport, PA. And
Hmm.
this was a town that a lot of people who went through the Narcotics Anonymous program got up out of Philly and Jersey and literally needed a change of pace, and they flocked to this town. So my dad had moved up there, and he was clean for a little while, and I went up to visit, and it was pretty cool. Of course, I'm up there hooping and we vibing, and it's okay. And then it was like, okay, we're going to try this. Now, mind you, I was 18.
Okay.
I had turned 18 that March, and it's that summer about to loop around. And so I went up there and enrolled in school, and I'm at his house, and what God bless him, God rest his soul. What he tried to do was put the hammer down with some old school values and principles and rules. But remember, I've never had rules.
Right.
I'm 18 years old. He's trying to hit me with a curfew and this and that. And I don't, what are we talking about? Right now,
Right.
I'm going to school. So what be in the house at 10 o'clock? Huh? What are you talking about? So we clashed immediately, and maybe 3 weeks into school, he put me out.
Mm.
And then I had connected with a friend over the summer. We were really close, and what I was doing was he told me I had first before he put me out. Oh, this is so crazy. Before he put me out, he told me you have to leave when I leave in the morning. He was leaving for work at like 6 o'clock. And so at 6 o'clock, so I had to get up 5:30, get myself at 6 o'clock. When he left, I had to get out of his house. And so
Wow.
the school was walking distance. So I walk over to the school, and the cleaning and the kitchen staff were in there. So I was able to get in the door and go in the cafeteria, and I would just go sit at the table and go to sleep until everybody started coming in. I did that for about 2 weeks. And then my homie was like, I told him, and he was like, no, just come to the crib. So then I started going to his house every morning.
Mm-hmm.
I did that for a couple weeks. And then, his mom offered, she said, you could stay here. I ain't gonna go deep the way she went deep, but
Right.
forget this and forget that and forget this and forget that. You can stay here. And so he said, if that's what you want to do, and we had a big blow up, and then I left and went and stayed with my homie. Got up and went to school every day and hooped.
And I was going to ask you that, like, when you circle back around to that father-son relationship that had been void over the years, how was, like, him trying to now be a father? Did you reject him trying to be a father? Not the rules that he was trying to put in place,
Right.
because he was trying to put some old school things in place that he hadn't seen work, that he was bringing from what his dad probably did. So
Right.
and with the relationship though, it probably would have worked. You probably would have been more apt to receive it had you had some kind of relationship established. So when you did that, so did you buck against just him trying to be a dad in the absent years? Did you question him as to dad? Where were you when I was younger? Did y'all have that conversation? Is he still alive?
So no, he passed in 2020.
Okay.
And no, we never had that conversation because I don't know why, but I never blamed either one of them. I understood what drugs were. Like
Mm.
I understood what drugs were. I saw some really sharp people, listen, become not so sharp, right?
Hmm.
So I understood, I just understood what drugs were. And so I don't know how I understood this, right? But there was never any blame. And so even when he got himself together and he had me come up for like a week during the summer, and it was great. And he had the place and the new wife and things were going good. And that's awesome. And so our clash came literally when he wanted to enforce these rules, and honestly that I thought were silly.
Hmm.
And it didn't make sense. And then it was like he couldn't explain to me the point. Now, if I'm missing school and but it was like, because I said so. It was really, really old school kind of,
Right.
our parents that, they from a different world. So again, I wasn't upset with him because you know what? This is your house and you can do what you want. And I've always been easy breezy like that.
Mm.
So we never had that type of, we never really did that. We did like, huh? Because I've always been respectful,
Hmm.
right? And when he was good, he was a sharp, thorough guy that everyone loved and respected. And
Hmm.
so he wasn't to be played with. and but we never had any sort of butting of the heads. I just said first you know, it was the rules, and it was, well, give me my key, and then it was, well, leave and it just progressed into, and I just felt like, well, maybe he really didn't want me here. And he kind of felt like he had to do that because he had a new
Right.
wife and a new son, and maybe let me try to, and I respected that, but it just didn't work. But there was never any grudge or any ill will toward him. And that had to just be God just kind of already
Man,
in me, even when I didn't know it.
man, that is nothing but God guarding your heart, because th- those 99% of the time, the situation does not turn out like that.
Yeah.
99% of the time.
I
Man, so
agree.
that's amazing that when you look back to see the grace and how God shielded you and how he protected you and how he kept you from creating this animosity in your heart and being this bitter, having this bitterness in your heart towards your parents, or you internalizing the whole life situation. Man, that's an amazing
I was dealing with
feat.
enough. I was dealing with enough. I guess he said, you don't
He's
need
like,
that too.
he said he can't take no more. He's
Exactly.
like, nah, we go turn it off, turn the faucet off on him a little bit.
Woo.
So what year did you graduate?
So I didn't graduate.
Okay.
So that year, kind of went through the same process. I hooped. I at least finished the season this time, and then the friend I moved in with, his mom moved back to Philly. So we're two 18, 19-year-olds, and we had the nice crib, and it was just us, and we started dipping and dabbing in the streets.
Okay. Okay.
So I went
Now,
straight from
because you was
losing in the
around it,
playoffs
you've
to the
seen it,
street.
you was around it. Now did it become a means to an end?
It was it was literally like it was as natural as you finish middle school and you go to high school.
Uh-huh.
It was okay, this is over. Okay, this is what's next.
This is
It was
what's next.
never a thought about work or college or this. Even with the trash bags full of mail, it never occurred to me that I could go and do that. I never made that connection.
Wow.
And I never understood the value of it. Obviously, now it's a different universe we live in,
Of
but there
course.
was no. It didn't occur to me that while I'm watching ESPN and hearing Dick Vitale and getting excited and doing all this, that I actually, that school right there, I have a stack of mail from them. I never connected that. Wait, that coach, look, these are 10 letters from him.
Uh-huh.
I never made that connection. It was just, look at it was just cool. That was just something else that brought the girls in. Never made that connection.
And you said that you saying a lot. That is, man, rich, because not having the understanding of what you had caused the what you had to be devalued.
Absolutely.
L-
Absolutely.
Like, but it's no fault of yours. It's just you didn't know what you didn't know. And has like you said, had somebody just kind of tapped you and led you in the wrong way, or you had an example to look at of somebody who made it out the hood and went to school and came back and was like, "Yo, bro, you need to take the da 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 da." But in those moments, you go with what's popping, and what's right there. A bird in the hand beats two in the bush any day. I don't know what the bush holds, but this bird in my hand, a literal bird.
Exactly.
So so when you got out there at 18, 19 years old,
Mhm.
what was your first reality check that you were
So
grown?
um, the police kicked the door in. They kicked the door in. They banged on the door. Uh, One of my guys went to open it. They kicked it on in. Sucker punched him, slammed him on the ground, and they searched the house, flipped the house top to bottom. Didn't find what they were looking for. But then the reality of that was like, wow. And then they were in this little tiny town, so everything is a big deal. And it was just like, wow. But funny thing is, looking back, because nothing happened, we had a cleanup party.
Mm,
It was like a big joke because nothing, you know what I mean?
right.
And
No
so it was like
consequences.
that was more stripes.
Right. Right. Hood
So,
cred.
but that was the first kind of, hmm, Okay, but that it didn't slow anything down. At ripped and ran back and forth for years.
Did did not getting in any consequences, like you just said, did it cause y'all to turn up the heat a little bit more and go a little bit more harder in that?
It caused us to kind of change things up a bit,
Mm-hmm.
but really we didn't. I can't say I never considered consequences. I never, even with that, because nothing happened. It was just there was never even a thought about what happens next or what could possibly. It was just how to get to that next dollar. What's this? What's that? What we doing? How we doing it?
Now, in that whole process, um, were you communicating with your mom? Were you still communicating with your uncles and your aunties and things like that? Just kind of letting them know that you were good. What kind of relationship was on the backside of that with your family?
Yeah, it was completely dry for a very long time, and obviously, for context, for people who are like, wait, this is pre-cell phone, right?
Mm-hmm.
We're talking, this is
Mm-hmm.
early 90s. We're talking, you know what I mean? So this is a different world. I couldn't just pick up FaceTime my grandma and check on her, right? This is a different
Right.
world.
Right.
We're talking about long distance and having to have certain stuff on your phone, and you're talking about there's a different world. So communication was very, very different. And it was actually common to not communicate. You know what I mean? It
For
wasn't so
sure. It-
easy.
for
So
sure.
but there was nothing until I started going back and forth from Williamsport to Philly, and then of course when I come to the city, I'm engaging with my folks for a quick second, but then I'm back in the mix, and it's just hey blah blah blah, and I'm gone.
What young people don't realize, for y'all young people that's going to be watching this, and you're kind of thinking a long distance phone call.
They
What
don't
is
even know what
that?
that means.
Is it
Yeah, that's like you have to
so
have
a
a
long
service.
distance phone call is like right now? You can call your people in California and not be charged for it. Back in the day, you made that call. That's like $5 that's added on to your phone that was in your house. So that bill on long distance call could be thousands of dollars if you make it long distance calls. Now it's kind of neutral. Even if you have a house phone, you can still call long distance without having to pay for it. But back then, it was
Oh, it was.
easy not to keep in contact with your people.
Oh yeah,
It,
very
it
very
was
easy.
it was real easy. I mean, I graduated in '92, and you talking about you going into the mid '90s. You had a pager,
Yep,
like you had to page me, but then I'd have to find some way to kind of call you back. Like there was
exactly.
these things called payphones too. Like on the corner, you had a payphone that you
Exactly.
had to put a quarter in, and it was 35 cents. Then it went up to 50 cents, and you got like 3 minutes to talk. There is no possible way I'd probably use one now just because of the germs, but
Mm.
you know
Oh
that
wow.
was how we was. That's how we was raised. So now, as you're putting these things together and you're starting to figure out life, you're in your early 20s. Um, what was the life changing moment for you
Mhm.
to kind of say this has a shelf life and I don't want to be in that part of that shelf life?
Yeah. So I had some friends in the city that were in like a war, like for real. People were getting killed. It was getting really dark. And I'm just like, wow. And there was this young lady I was talking to, and she said she was going to Job Corps. So I'm like, what is Job Corps? And she told me about it, and then she left. And then maybe 2 months later or a month later, she comes back and she's like, she's loving it. She's like, I'm telling you, every Tuesday, new people can go, yada, yada, yada. So I'm like, you know what? I'm out. I went and signed myself up on a Monday. I was hanging out with her over the weekend. I went on Monday, signed up, said, when's the soonest I could leave? They said, you ready to go tomorrow? I said, yep. Packed up my stuff, and I went to Job Corps. I just literally just packed up and left because it was getting people I was connected to. I mean, it was getting dark. And
Mm-hmm.
so I went to Job Corps, went up there, got my GED, and I was supposed to do plumbing, and I was there for a minute waiting for a spot to open up, and up there hooping, having fun. And then I went home for a weekend and got to talking with some friends, and we were downtown in Philly. We were walking up Broad Street, like our big main strip, and we walked past the recruiting station, and we jokingly said, let's go in here. And then we got to talking, yo, we should go in the military, and woo, wow, wow. And we're just talking. And we went in, and I signed up.
What branch?
I signed up. I went in the Army.
Okay.
So, and it was literally a joke. Went in, had the conversation. And then maybe I said I was going to do it, and then had some communication with the recruiter. Didn't go back to Job Corps, and then maybe 2 months later, I signed up, and I was off to Fort Benning, Georgia, for basic training.
Wow, that's a
Yeah.
a hard left.
It is. So I reconnected with a young lady who I grew up with up the street. She and I were very close off and on. I reconnected with her, and she was talking right. She was from that Cosby family around the way, the only family that had both parents, and they had jobs and a car. And so they were that put together, like, wow, kind of family. Her dad was that dude, and reconnecting with her, kind of inspired me to want to do something for myself. And I said, you know what? All right, I'm going to try this. And I did it. And she and I ended up getting married. That was my first wife. We ended up getting married, and yeah, all the things. So talk about a hard left.
Yeah, that's a if you ain't have your seatbelt on, you done slid all out the back of the truck. you all the way to roll down the hill kind of left. But
Exactly.
sometimes you got to make those. You got in your situation, you're kind of thinking, what I got to lose? Like if I stay here, I know I'm going to end up somebody gonna be walking around with a loving memory on the shirt.
Bro, literally, what got me? You know what shook me up? I had a friend who they singled out. It was his issue, but he'd be with light-skinned Reece that play ball. We go somewhere, I'm the sore thumb. It might be 8 of us. They remember the tall light-skinned boy, the one that play ball and always blink his eye. Reece, so it's like, yo, wait a minute. And that hit me like, oh no. And then I'm telling you that it was just boom, 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 boom. Before I knew it, they were shaving my head. I was down in Fort Benning.
So you hit Fort Benning, you in. What did you do in the military? What was your
my MOS? So my job was supposed to be a Bradley driver. Bradley is like a tank. And I went in, and it's so funny because there's a test you take when you go in. I crushed the test. But what happens is at that time, because I had a GED, I was limited to this block of options.
Yeah.
And so I didn't care at the time. I'm like, whatever. Like I just went in. I didn't have a career idea. I'm going to go in the military. So I went, and I was a Bradley driver, and then that was sweet. And I ended up being the driver for basically like the boss of our unit, which meant even less work for me because I just had to drive him around when he needed me to drive him around, which was almost never. So I'm running around.
You were skating.
I'm supposed to be in the motor pool, making sure that because it was a Humvee, making sure my Hummer or my vehicle was good. But
Right.
go to PT in the morning, work out, have some fun, play some sports, and a little football, little runs. Come back, check in, disappear, and then at the end of the day, come check in.
So how long were you in before you decide to get married?
We got married immediately. We got married immediately so that I could get the extra pay,
Right.
so that she could come with wherever I go.
And get
So it was
housing.
like, oh no, we got to be married so we got married almost like a business arrangement. Not to say that wasn't my shorty at that time, but that was what that was what
Right. I
triggered
mean,
it.
in
Oh,
order for all of it to work, you had to be married because they didn't take care of
exactly.
girlfriends. So to get the extra pay, to get the BHA, the BAQ, you had to be married, and then to get on base for housing, you had to be married.
All the
So,
things. Yep.
and I mean that all. I guess now, how old were you? 25?
20.
20.
So that rip and run was like a 2-year back and forth.
Uh-huh.
And because I went to basic training November. I did 17 weeks at Benning, just straight. And then that March I turned 21. So
Okay.
so that was just about I was about a 2-year crazy run. And then then I was 21.
So at 21, you get married with no examples on what marriage looked like. She had great examples of what marriage looked like.
Yep.
How did that go for you?
It In the beginning, it was just kids just being kids.
Mhm.
She was like you said, she had examples, and she had definitely had a much higher level of maturity than me at that time. And it was fun for a while, and then it was just me just not caring, not knowing any better, doing what
Mhm.
I want, when I want it, where I want it, with whom I want it. And so, there was a big separation, which ultimately led to a divorce.
Mhm.
But to your point, there was no, I had no idea.
So not knowing how to be a husband, really not really understanding how to be a man, and being married. Would you right now, if you was mentoring somebody that's 20, 21, say they're about to get married, would you recommend that?
No, no, I would recommend against it. Of course, I would talk to them. I would invest as much as I possibly could, as much as they would be willing to hear and to soak up. But
Mhm.
I would to him and her. I wouldn't recommend it.
What was your biggest takeaway from that whole experience?
Ooh, that's interesting because at the time, hmm, that's a really interesting question. And
And I'll
am I
add this little
answering
piece
it
to it.
as this version of me?
No, just looking back, but I'm saying like, and how long were y'all married?
So this story gets good. So we were married that first time. You caught that?
Yeah,
For
I got it.
maybe,
I'm gonna circle around to it.
I don't know, maybe 2 years,
Okay.
maybe 2 years, and then I was in Fort Hood in Texas. That was my station. We were living there. Then she ended, of course, things got crazy. She ended up leaving, going back to Philly, and then I ended up leaving the army maybe a couple months later. I AWOL'd out. I just decided I was leaving one day, went to U-Haul, grabbed the truck with the hitch, put my car on the hitch, went and threw all my stuff from the apartment in the truck, wrote a bad check, write checks back then,
Yeah.
wrote them a bad check, and drove from Fort Hood, Texas, which is like around Austin,
Uh huh.
all the way to Philly. I was out of my mind.
I was gonna ask you that because just going back to zero structure, zero rules, zero accountability, and you make this hard left
Yeah.
into the army, all structure, all rules, and all accountability. That was gonna be my next question.
Yeah.
So I take that didn't go too well for you.
So basic training was great
Uh-huh.
because again, I'm an athlete, so I understood what was happening. I understood, okay, this is a process. We're building something, and it was a lot of learning, which
Hmm.
I now and I'm a very curious person. I didn't obviously understand this then, but looking back, so the learning and the curiosity, and then there's weapons, and then there's a lot of uh, intimidation and a lot of things that they try to do, but I'm from where it really happens at. So I'm
Right.
looking at these guys fold, and it's funny to me because I know this guy is just a guy at work.
Right.
He's yelling and trying to, but I know like
He ain't built like that for real.
yeah. So my
Right.
approach to things was very different. I was the clown. I was the because I know what they're gonna do. Maybe do push up. Well, great. You know, good, thank you. You know, so basic training was fun. And then when I got to my station, to your point, that's when things got a little weird. They have this thing called CQ, where you basically and you're basically you. I had to take care of the area. Let's say I had to take care of the office, right? To put
Uh-huh.
it in perspective for people, and I had to stay for the weekend. Well, Austin was popping on the weekends, and listen, they Philly, hey Philly. Philly need to be at the club at City Lights. That's what it was called. Philly needed to be at City Lights. So I'm like, no, I'm not. I'm leaving. And I left. And then it was, you better, you did it. Who you think you talking to? And that's when I packed up my stuff and like, man, you tripping. I'm gone.
How'd that
And
work out for
I
you?
left.
How'd
I
that work out for
AWOL
you?
and left.
Yeah. Yeah. For those who don't know what AWOL mean, that he bounced and they was gonna come and get him.
Oh, we can get to that. We can get to that later. What happened? Unless you want me to share it now.
Yeah, like so when you go back to Philly, what are you doing?
I go back to Philly. I go back around the way because that's all I know.
Uh-huh.
And I get right into the streets. I link back up with some of the people, my Williamsport people, and I get right in the mix. I got my little Honda with the Texas tags. I'm around. I'm right in the mix. I'm ripping and running, doing all the things. And one day I'm on the corner, we hanging out, cops pull up, they jump out on us, and I had my military ID in my pocket. We were about to go to Dave and Buster's, and some places, if you have the military ID, you get special perks. So I had my
Right.
ID on me, and the guy he saw it. He was like, he was an ex-Marine. He was like, let me see something real quick. And he went and ran my name, and they came back like, yeah, you have a federal warrant. Everybody like, what? So they snatched me up, took me down to the station. The marshals came and got me, shackled me up, took me over to Fort Dix, took me out the shackles. Then they flew me down to Fort Knox, Kentucky, and I had to process out. I was down there for like 3 days. They asked me, did I want to come back in? I said no, just process me out. They gave me another than honorable discharge, and I was back in the city in like 3 days, like I never left.
Yo, they took it easy on you. You could have been in the brig.
Oh, it could have got ugly for sure. For sure. But no, it was
Hey, but
sweet.
your street cred went up when they said you got a federal award.
Everybody was just like, oh, yeah, it was. Oh yeah, that was like a thing. That was like a thing of legend right there.
Oh yeah, you an urban legend now. Boy, shoot. The feds. Oh, boy, I'm spinning that story all the way around.
Yeah, that was funny. Yeah, when I came back, oh, that was crazy. But yeah,
So now you in your early 20s, you've been discharged from the military. What happened over the next what was the next phase? You got back into the streets?
so I was dabbling in the streets a little bit, and then I was like, okay, I was trying to figure it out. and I had
Mhm.
got back with the ex, and we were figuring it out, and we actually ended up getting remarried, and we're figuring this thing out. And her parents were pastors, and so so then my son was born. My son was born New Year's Day of '98. And so she was heavy in the church. I didn't go. I went to an occasional Friday night youth night, but
Mhm.
that was it. And of course, I didn't grow up in the church or anything like that. My association with church and ministry was their family. And so when my son was born, after that first 2 weeks, she like, I'm taking him to church. Huh? I, I need to go see what's going on down at this place. So I go, and I have to share this. So I go, and I'm in there. I done went out the night before. I got Hennessy coming out my pores. I'm still tipsy. And of course, I know her dad. So he was my first mentor. He was one of those fire breathing, in your face from the streets, but now he found God. Preached the roof off, and he's going, going, going. And I'm standing up. I'm standing up front and center. I'm on the second row, but there's no one in front of me, so I'm basically in the front. I'm tears. I'm crying. I didn't even realize I was crying. He came over and he took his hand and he about cracked my sternum. He says, "Stay connected." And I stayed connected. I was showing up every Sunday, white tees. Still, sometimes I hadn't even been to sleep yet because I was still running. I was still ripping and running, but I
Right.
had myself up in there. What you need me to do, Pastor? You need somebody to clean up? I'll do it. I'll do it. What you need me to do? We need somebody to work with these teenagers. So, like my third week, I start working with the teens.
Okay.
So that's when I began what has me even in this place today.
Mhm.
Eli, I'm like, what do you have to do? Well, when service starts, we're going to dismiss y'all. Y'all going to go across the hall and y'all just going to talk about life skills, whatever, whatever. I'm like, is there a book? Is there a manual? No, just kind of check. Oh, well, all right.
Light work.
I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
What y'all be doing? And I started to learn about people and about identities and about, wait, they started to share that lady you see in church every Sunday, that's not the lady I live with. Huh? And I started to learn.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and it started to come together. And then
Uh-huh.
I gradually was all in. I was all in, but then I gradually was really all in. But my heart opened up for those young people. And at the time, I'm young myself. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
I
what,
might be
it's
10
still
years
early
older than
20s,
them.
mid 20s?
Right. So
Yeah.
I'm like, okay. And they're loving it. Can we come to y'all house? Can we? And so it went from Sundays during service with the teens to they want to come over. Can we have
Mhm.
youth service on Friday night? So we had youth service Friday night, and they all mob up and come to the house. And now they at our house all weekend, and then we bring in the whole mob of teens and it just became a thing.
Yeah, it's dope.
So that's where my service and mission really kind of started to blossom.
So in that, you're doing the work of the Lord. You are showing up, and but what point did God become real to you? What was that? What was that breaking
Mm,
moment where you said it's no longer for the show, or
mhm.
not the show, but no, it's no longer for the service of it, but I really have a desire and a heart to want to give God my hope, my
Yeah,
life.
yeah, that's a great question. So there's some breadcrumbs, right?
Okay,
So
okay.
that ride from Fort Hood back to the city, I was tapped out. I went to a gas station in Atlanta and I went to the ATM. I was tapped out. I was in the negative, but I hit fast cash $100 and $100 popped out. And I think that was the moment I said, wow, okay, there's something else at play here. How, what was that?
Mm,
Wow. And that's when I kind of felt God kind of grinning, kind of,
okay.
wow. And then there were little moments, but then when I got into when I actually started serving and I'm in the ministry and I'm checking everybody out. because I'm from around the way. So
Mm-hmm.
who are these people? What's this? What's that? And then I'm working with their children. And so I'm getting a lot from them, but then I'm seeing this, and then I'm like, okay, I need to protect my old head. Because Pastor, he's from my block. This is my old head, who I respect, who I ride for. This
Right.
he was Mr. Huxley, he was the guy.
Mr.
And we
Huxtable.
will all ride for him. You know what I mean? So we will all ride for Bishop, he was for Pastor Blake, right? So
Right.
there was a level of respect and reverence for him. And so I felt a sense of duty because I saw him breaking his neck. I saw him getting there extra early, cleaning up, setting up, then preaching and then serving and I'm like, okay, how can I help? So so God used him, right? I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to show up. You know what I mean? I wanted to help him. And then that put me right next to the man of God. And he just planting and watering.
Right.
He's just
Right.
planting and watering. And I'm paying attention. And then I wanted to protect him, but then I'm growing at the same time, right? That's like if I'm like, all right, Reed, I want you to develop your jump shot from the elbow. We gonna go shoot 1,000 a day. Well, my shot gonna get better too.
Right.
so essentially,
Right.
and so I don't know if there was a no. You know what? The things I was doing, the other stuff started to the Henny didn't taste so good anymore. The
Right.
ripping and running wasn't fun. And then it was like, no, I got 12 teenagers who came to my crib. They want to hang out with me. Being out here wasn't so. So it was a process. There wasn't one boom moment. There was these, and and then you look up, and I'm like, all right, I need to start dressing the part. All
Mm.
right, I need to start moving a little different. All right, I need to start, stepping in these places, and I need to, and so it was, and it just grew and grew, and next thing you know, I was his right hand man for years, almost
So
20
so
years.
you so but you're still he's your father-in-law, but he's also your pastor.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now, what was going on in y'all's marriage at that time? Were y'all growing? Was things starting to move? Was things starting to click? Were
It was up
you
and down. It was
uh-huh.
up and down. There was some things that were really really great, and there were some things that were really really terrible. In all of this, so what happened was one of the big keys. Remember, I was drawn to him. I was
Mhm.
drawn to the spirit of what was going on. I was drawn to the growth. I was drawn to the word and the ministry. And what I told myself was, I'm I don't matter. My thoughts, my feelings, my ideas don't. So what I did over time was I abandoned me
Mm.
and
Mhm.
and was trying to figure out how to become what they needed and expected. And she played on that because she saw that. And so I'm just like, okay, what's the expectation? Let me crush the expectation. What's this? But I never considered me. And no
Mhm.
one ever, it never occurred to me, and no one ever, you know what I mean? So I completely abandoned my identity. Listen, I was doing all the things, but I
Mhm.
completely abandoned my identity. And so I lost myself. And I was in there, I was serving, I was doing all the things, but I completely lost my identity. So I gradually went from this one person to a totally different person, and I didn't bring me along for the ride. I didn't
But you
develop
was used to
him.
doing that though, right?
Exactly. It
So
was
it
easy.
was an easy it was something that was already in your wheelhouse, something that you were already familiar with. All you did was change hats.
That's it. That's it.
I go from streets to got to church is the same
Yeah,
the same thing.
exactly.
And
Exactly.
so the second time when you got married, how long was y'all married?
So were we were together for we were flirting with 20 years. We were in and out, separation, up, down, off and on, twists and turns. We were flirting with 20 years. This crazy thing is I was planning uh 20th anniversary things when I got the message that this was over.
Okay.
So it's like, huh? It was I didn't even know what was happening. I thought the message was a message that someone in the ministry received, and we needed to go intervene
Uh-huh.
because we were pastors at this time. So I'm thinking, who sent that to who? Whose house do we need to go over? Who do we need to go pick up? Do I need to leave work? Because what couple do we need to go and rally around? I didn't, that couldn't have been for me. I just left for work. Huh?
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so it was a very long time. It was a lot of off and on. I moved out several times and all that, but we were on paper for a very long time. Almost, like I said, almost 20 years.
Now, did y'all have children within that? You said I know you had at least one son.
Yes.
Um,
So when I got back with her, she had a baby who's my oldest son. And
mhm.
then uh and then she and I ended up having two. So two sons. So there were three boys in that mix.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
So
And as you're trying to figure it out, kids are smart and they know stuff that's going on. Were you trying to um how was your relationship with them, your interaction, your being a father, your nurturing, were you present and non-active? Were you non-active and non-present? What was your what was
I
your
was
status?
active, 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 present, present, present. I chose family and the ministry over career, over business, over any personal pursuits. So
Mm,
I was present. I was at every class meeting. I was at every teacher this. I was at every practice. I was at every game. I was at every. So I was there. So my relationship with them is just magnificent to this day. um that was the choice that I made. Now,
yeah.
that I don't regret it, right? I would have done it differently, but obviously I don't regret it. But yeah, so I was active, I was present. And the beauty of it is, as things progressed and went the way that they went, they were there. They saw what was going on, and they were privy to things that I wasn't. They saw things and heard things
On
when
the
I
backside.
maybe wasn't around. And so
Yeah.
they were able to connect the dots, and they were able to see who was who and what was what. And I never had to defend myself. I've never badmouthed their mother. I've never done anything but encourage them to love and respect and appreciate her, even when my heart was being ripped out, even when I was
Mhm.
being treated like last week's trash. I still, that's how I chose to show up. And to this day, I'm reaping the benefits of that, and my relationship with the boys is phenomenal.
Man, that's so dope. That's amazing. I that's amazing. Um, Being present and being consistent. Because I got some homeboys where that's not their story, that's not their narrative. You know what I mean? So that's a salute to you being a father. So now you've been married, you've been divorced, you remarried, and then you get these divorce papers. What what pieces in that piece when you got that, or the next probably year or so, because now you're in your 40s, right? Like
I was
that,
uh I was 40 when this
you
happened.
you was 40 exactly.
Yep.
um when it happened, did you stay part of the ministry? Did you transition out? Were
Nope.
you what happened? What tailspin happened after you got
Yeah.
those papers?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was my son's graduation weekend. I'll never forget. He was graduating from high school. So we were living in North Carolina at the time, right outside of Charlotte, and a bunch of people had come down to support. And that's when things happened. And so we had to get through that weekend. I had to hold my peace, right? But then come Sunday, of course, like, no, I'm not about to go and no. So I stepped back, and then uh, you know, I moved out and got on with life. And honestly, the initial shock was like, whoa. But then when I zoomed out and really looked at the situation, the breadcrumbs were there. It was happening.
It,
And I've always been a realist. And I'm a person who I want what's best for everyone. And if I'm not what's best for you, no hard feelings. Even back to
right.
what you were asking about the parents and did I ever have, I've never had that. I've never had I've never had that. I've never felt like you owe me. I've always had my ego in check. Maybe a little too much. Maybe there were some times I should have turned up a little, but I didn't, right? I didn't allow things to affect me the way that things would normally affect or
Mhm.
impact a person. I've always had that ability to look at the other person and to have empathy and understanding, even at my own expense, even at the expense of my own pain. I always have been able to, okay, you know what? No, I understand why. You know what? That makes sense. You know what? Okay. If that's
That's
what you
truly a gift.
clearly, because I didn't sign up for that. I didn't go pick that out the closet. That was given to
Yeah,
me.
God, give me that gift right there.
I wouldn't have
Yeah,
picked that one.
yeah. Out of all the gifts, I will that one. Yeah, I mean, because that's amazing, man. That the curveballs came and there's no hard feelings and no animosity towards that. So, how long were you single before you got remarried?
Um, so I was uh I was single for so funny. I went through the separation, moved out, and
Uh,
I'm doing life and I'm whatever. And the I got the official divorce marriage is dissolved paperwork on this Friday morning. It was August 10th of 2016 and excuse me, August 5th of 2016. And that night I went to play wingman with one of my homies and at this birthday dinner with a friend of his, and I met my lovely wife that night. So I got my divorce papers that morning and I met my lovely wife at dinner that night.
Man, man.
God has
Now,
a sense of humor, man. I say that all the time.
100%. Now, I'm pretty sure there was some things that you had to iron through and some things, some self examination, because
Oh yeah.
when you look back at what caused your first marriage to end,
Mhm.
what part did you play in that?
Oh, big time. Me surrendering my identity, my poor self-esteem, my poor self-image, right? I abandoned me, and that may be cute for a minute when I put me aside and I think about you, but that wore off, and there's no future in that.
Right.
There's no long-term value in that, and so I abandoned me, and I never took the time to build me up, to invest in me, to learn about me, and so that became my mission to empower and encourage people to the power of themselves
Mm,
and letting people know that you're it. You're it. And the more you and self-love and self-care is the most selfless thing you can do. I was celebrated for sacrifice, but that was wrong. No. I
right.
I encourage people to you have to take care of you. You have to invest in your own well-being. You have to prioritize your well-being. Now I operate from the other end and my tank is always full. So I'm always able to show up for my wife and for my children and for the people that I'm called to serve. But I wasn't taught that. I had to go through all of my go through to learn
Right.
that. So that was one of the things that I established like, whoa, whoa, whoa. What I won't do is, nope, I'll never deprioritize me. I'll never be remember the whole ego in check thing. So I'm
Yeah,
not going to turn into the maniac, but I'm never going to deprioritize me. My tank
man.
has to be full because I have to be available because I said yes and I meant it.
Man, that's man, that's tough. Now, um, y'all married, how long, y'all kicking it. Did she
Yeah.
co
So
is your wife background and her examples, did she come from a two-parent home, or is it a single parent home? What was her
Yeah,
dynamics?
her situation is different. Not the two parent situation, but she had, good relationships. Her dad is awesome. You know what I mean? She had a good
Yeah,
relationship with her mom, and then she comes
yeah.
from a really, really big family. So
Okay.
family it is a big deal. It's a staple for them. I always tell them how wealthy they are because of how close they are and how much they love each other. Bro, they'll sit on FaceTime, two of them, four of them, 10 of them, for hours and hours and hours, just vibing and loving on each other. Like they ride for each other, and it's beautiful. And so that's from which she comes. But she had you know, graduated high school, went to undergrad, did all the things, did phenomenally, then went to grad school, boom, 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 internship, great job, great job, great job, great job. So she had a slightly different path along
Right.
those lines, but she went through her go through just like the rest of us.
And you know what? I'm pretty sure she did. Um, because it makes her who she is.
Bingo.
The
Absolutely.
the trials and tribulations and the path that she had to walk makes her who she is. So you're currently coaching, right?
Mhm.
What prompted you to get into the space of coaching? What was what moved you to say, you know what, I need to jump in this space right here?
Wow. It's who I am naturally, and it's essentially what I was doing all those years in the ministry.
Uh-huh.
I was teaching life skills. That's what I was doing. I was teaching life skills. I led the youth ministry. I led the men's ministry. I was the associate pastor, and every assignment, everything that was near and dear to my heart was the development of people. And it was never
Mm.
you ought. It was let us, or follow me. It was so. That's just who I am. And then I'm an athlete, so I'm like, okay, I don't care. It doesn't matter that you dribbled off your foot. Next play, this is what we're doing, right? Like, so I've always had that in me. Like, what we talking about the first quarter for? It's fourth quarter, it's 3 minutes to go. We down six. Let's win this game. So that
Right.
was. So I'm always like front sight focused, right? I'm always okay. All of that, came together. But that's what came natural. And I was just sharing information, just sharing insights. God said, read, write, and teach. So I'm like, okay. So I'm reading, I'm studying, I'm learning, I'm writing, I'm sharing ideas. And then in the sharing of ideas, people would inquire, what's this? And what about that? And what are your thoughts on it? And man, I think you can help me. And boom, boom, boom. And so coaching kind of picked me. You
Mm.
know, that's just who I am. You know, I'm I share ideas. I'm naturally an encourager.
It's how
I,
you
I
wired.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
I see a situation and I'm looking for, the ways forward.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
we share a lot of common things with that. I mean, even just in life is, some very key points and things like that. So yeah, because I'm wired the same way. To it's a natural fit for me to just go do what I do.
right.
It it just is. And so you've been in this space, you done touch lives, you're preaching, you are out in the community, you married, you're a husband. What is something that you champion, that you stand 10 toes down for, that you champion?
Ooh. hmm. That's a really good question. A lot spinning through my mind. I want to say it this way, that I believe that the way forward is through personal responsibility. And I stand on that no matter the situation.
Hmm.
The way forward is through personal responsibility.
Mm,
That's the way forward. Uh, Taking responsibility. My motto is, what happens next is up to me.
that's
And
good.
I stand on that. And so it doesn't matter what happened up to this point. Does it matter? Of course it matters, but it doesn't matter, because What happens next is up to me. So whether I got here kicking and screaming, whether I danced my way here, whether I got here in broken pieces, whether
Right.
everything's been beautiful, whether everything's been terrible, I'm here. I'm planted. My favorite quote, bro, is above all else, be present. I'm here. I'm in this moment. And okay. And I don't believe in step two, right? We can talk about that at another time. What's step one? What needs to be done right here, right now, in this moment? Own it and go. So the way forward is always through personal responsibility. So I could go a lot of ways, but I'm just going to say it. I'm going to say that.
I mean, that's huge. You know what I mean? Like you champion personal responsibility because people need to be accountable for themselves, right?
Yeah,
Just
absolutely.
that's just
No
the
blame, no
that's
excuses.
good. That's good stuff. But look here, y'all go. Y'all need to go follow him. This is his YouTube right here. Reece Inspires. Go check out his YouTube video. Go follow him. Go subscribe. Go be a part of his community on any
Appreciate
of
it.
his social media sites that we're going to put up. Go follow him everywhere. So we have that was his, and this is
That's YouTube.
his
The first one was TikTok. Just Reese inspires everywhere.
Reese Inspires everywhere. So that's TikTok was the first one. This is YouTube right here.
Mm-hmm.
Um, go check out his Instagram right here. Go
Mm-hmm.
follow him. Go follow him. Check out his website right here. That's his website,
Yes.
ReeceInspires.com. And I'm pretty sure all those amazing people in that picture are doing things. Become part of his community. Join his coaching sessions. Get in his TikTok lives. He's dropping nuggets on a daily basis. He's out here doing the work. I tap in. I be sneaking away from stuff that I'm supposed to be doing. I get in and I listen for a few minutes, and I'm like, I'm gonna go in and say what's up to him. But get in his community, follow him, support the things that he's got going on, especially locally if he's local. If he's out in the community doing anything, a clothing drive, a food drive, he's doing a youth basketball thing, you need to be in the place where he's going to be at because he's a wealth of information and knowledge is power. And not only is knowledge power, applied knowledge, which is what he stresses and put forth, is
Yes.
power. So join his community, do the things that he's a part of. Again, get in his coaching sessions for y'all who are questioning if you need a coach, if you think you need a coach, or you don't know if you need a coach, or what does a coach do. Tap into Reece Inspires, pull it up, jump in and get a consultation from him and see if what he does lines up with what you're trying to do. Because not only are you interviewing him, he's interviewing you because you may not line up with what he's trying to do or where he's trying to go. So tap into his community and support. Now,
Wow.
I do have one last question for you though.
Okay.
Now, this is I thought about this question. Um,
You sip my water.
it's only fitting to end it with a question that kind of makes you think. What is something that you didn't pay attention to growing up that you had to learn the hard way as you got older?
Mm. Honestly, the I don't want to use the same language, but I'm going to make the same point. Um, that I matter. You matter.
Mm,
In spite of what it looks like or feels like, in spite of what your environment is telling you, whether you matter, your thoughts matter, your words matter, your actions matter, and pardon me, and you absolutely must be team you. You must be there for you. You must support you. You must be your biggest fan. You must be your biggest critic and your biggest fan. You must love you, and you matter. I didn't realize that I mattered until recently. It never
wow.
occurred to me. When I was scoring a bucket, I mattered. And when I was making someone laugh, I mattered. And when I was doing this, I had to do something in order for me to have value. But just just because I'm here, I have value. I actually matter. And not only do I matter just to myself, to the entire world, what I do ripples out. My thoughts, words, and actions, there's a ripple effect. And I matter. And that was the biggest, most valuable lesson I've ever learned. I freaking matter. And I need to conduct myself as if I matter. I can't be out here just thinking any kind of way because my thoughts matter.
Right.
I can't just say anything because my words matter. I can't just do anything because my actions matter. I matter.
Man, that is woo. In old school church, they would say that dog will hunt right there. Because that thing, that is, man, that is dope. We all matter. You matter. We matter. And in the busyness of life, it's easy to lay yourself aside and realize that, man, I look up and like you did, realize that, man, I spent years putting me to the side that did nothing to edify me, to move me into a greater sense of purpose. But now you are where you are and you are who you are because of that, regardless of how long it took God to get it to you and get you to understand it. You have it now, and now it's a major tool on your tool belt that you're using to help forge the direction of people. I ain't gonna say young people because I don't want to categorize you as a youth person. You are a person that speaks to humans, so that are moving in and using these tools that you've learned over your years to push them into their greatness and being a better version of themselves. I respect it. I appreciate it. I love what you do. You got anything else you want to say to the people before we get up out this piece?
You know what? You've summed it up so well. I think we just leave that there. I just want to thank you for your time, for your energy, for your kind words, for your warmth, for your insight, for your spirit. And I'll just say that if we run this back in the future, I'll send you some Yeezys to put on your table.
Oh, oh. And because if you send them back to me, I'll wear up and put a picture, and I'll let you know that I'm rocking them.
I
Because
appreciate you,
it'll go
brother.
against my code of shoe ethics. But
I appreciate you, brother. This was phenomenal. Thank you. Thank
well,
you.
I appreciate you pulling up. Hey, you've been chilling with Reece McNeil and Seymour Reece Ball on the Seymour Reece Ball Show. I love you like a play cousin. I'm out. Peace.